pioneered by the incumbent Prime Minister, Cambodia fully understands that a course to reconciliation and peace is uphill and long, yet feasible. To this end, the priority is first, the violence must cease. Second, all parties should meet and talk. Third, humanitarian aid must be accessible. In this spirit, Cambodia supported the proactive role of the ASEAN Chair and ASEAN Secretary General and welcomed the result of their recent visit to Myanmar. We remain committed to supporting the efforts to implement the 5-point consensus of the ASEAN leaders, emphasizing confidence that it would contribute to positive development necessary to support Myanmar's return to the path of normalcy. I thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the representative of Timor-Leste via Zoom.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Timor-Leste welcome and thanks the Special Rapporteur on the situation of the human rights in Myanmar, Mr. Thomas Andrew, for the oral progress report. Timor-Leste is deeply concerned with the use of lethal force and violence, which has led to injury and fatality, arbitrary detention, and violence against peaceful demonstrators, and call for the immediate stop of all use of violence against peace demonstrators and for the immediate release of all arbitrary detainees. Timor-Leste remains gravely concerned with the escalating tension in Myanmar, particularly with the human rights violation committed in the country since last February, and to this end, urge the cease of all human rights violations and call for the restoration of the rule of law in Myanmar. Timor-Leste call upon Myanmar to quickly implement the 5-point consensus reached at the leader meeting of ASEAN held on 24 April 2021 to facilitate a peaceful solution in the interest of the people of Myanmar and their livelihood, and to that end, urge all relevant parties in Myanmar to cooperate with ASEAN and the Special Rapporteur on situation of human rights in Myanmar. I thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you. We shall now turn to the list of speakers from non-governmental organizations.
Thank you. I give the floor to Timor-Leste on Zoom.
Thank you, Madam President. Timor-Leste welcome the convening of this special session of the Human Rights Council. First and foremost, our sincere condolences to all the family of the victim, especially to all parents who lost a child because of the armed conflict. We are deeply concerned with the tension on the ground, and we strongly condemn all unlawful use of force or violence. The 11 days of conflict resulted in more than 250 casualties, including 60 children. Madam President, this fact cannot be overlooked. The parties shall not neglect one of the most fundamental rules of war. Civilian poverty shall not be attacked. Timor-Leste welcome the ceasefire declared between Israel and Hamas and call all parties to fully comply with and observe the ceasefire. Madam President, my delegation called for negotiate a two-state solution in line with the relevant applicable law, UN resolution, and mutual agreement, which must be acceptable to both Israel and the State of Palestine. This certainly will be crucial to lasting peace in the region. Madam President, I wish to conclude with, on behalf of Timor-Leste, encouraging all parties to the conflict to strengthen their dialogue and to adopt a people-centered approach, respecting all human rights, as well as by encouraging the international community to extend their support for the restoration of peace in the region. I thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. I give the floor.
And I now give the floor to Timor-Leste on behalf of a group of countries in person.
Thank you, Madam President. I have the honor to deliver the statement on behalf of the cross-regional group of states. The resumed armed conflict in the non-self-governing territory of Western Sahara following the breach of the ceasefire by the Kingdom of Morocco on 30 November 2020 is the source of additional widespread and serious violation of human rights and breaches of international humanitarian rules in the illegal occupied territory. We express our dismay that the High Commissioner does not seem to be concerned about the high number of civilian Sahrawi, notable human rights defenders and independent journalists being victims of the tight surveillance, harassment, arbitrary arrests, and arbitrary detention, rape, and torture following the resuming of the conflict. We wish to stress that the Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, being sized in recent times by a number of complaints, notes that there is a widespread practice of abuse against persons who advocate for the right to self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. Finally, we condemn the persistent violence of the Sahrawi people's permanent sovereignty over their natural resources by Morocco and international companies that are plundering those resources. Madam President, once more, we urge the High Commissioner for Human Rights to dispatch urgently an observation mission to the occupied Western Sahara and to report on the human rights situation to the Human Rights Council at each 48th session. We also urge you to resume the technical mission to Western Sahara that was last on the ground in 2015. We call on the United Nations to extend the MINURSO mandate to include a human rights monitoring mechanism. In conclusion, Madam President, we remain committed to ensuring that the Sahrawi people are enabled to exercise their inalienable right to self-determination in conformity with all relevant UN resolutions, including Resolution 1514. I thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
In the case of Western Sahara, we reiterate our strong support and enduring solidarity for the right of the people of Western Sahara to self-determination, and call on full implementation of MINURSO's mandate to hold a referendum to allow the Sahrawi people to exercise their right to self-determination. We also urge the UN Secretary General to appoint a new special envoy as soon as possible to resume the talks between Morocco and Freddy Polizani with the participation of Algeria and Mauritania. My delegation would like to reiterate that Timor-Leste fully recognizes that Freddy Polizani as the legitimate representative of the people of Western Sahara in accordance with the UN General Assembly and Security Council resolutions. Madam Chair, Timor-Leste wishes to re-emphasize that the listed non-self-governing territories should be considered on a case-by-case basis, as each territory has its own particular circumstances. My delegation supports the dispatch of the periodic visiting missions to non-self-governing territories, including to the Western Sahara, that will help the community to better understand the aspirations of the people, in particular those related to the political status of the territories, as well as with regard to social, economic, environmental, and cultural spheres. To conclude, my delegation would like to underscore the importance of the implementation of the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 1514 of 1960 on the granting of independence of colonial countries and peoples to ensure the peoples of the remaining distant territories to freely exercise their rights to self-determination. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Timor-Leste. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Ecuador.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Timor-Leste aligned itself with the statement delivered by China. Timor-Leste thanks and welcome the report of the Special Rapporteur, Mr. Oliver de Sutter, focusing on the establishment of a global fund for social protection to eradicate extreme poverty. As a country rebuilding from after conflict, poverty reduction remains as a priority on Timor-Leste policy agenda, and the government is committed to ensure the stability of a public social security system to ensure the social protection for the citizen in accordance with international human rights treaty. In doing so, with reference to the 5P of the SDG and our Strategic Development Plan 2011-2030, we have made significant progress in recent years to ensure the basic needs of our people. As short-term priorities that are being achieved, Timor-Leste is focusing on development of poverty reduction related to a key area including education, health, water and sanitation, basic infrastructure, as well as agriculture and fishery, as they are important sectors that will help for subsistence and pave the way towards a sustainable development. Moreover, the provision of financial inclusion and a small microcredit is also one of the priorities to empower the citizens of the country with the tools to meet their financial needs and improve the quality of life. Mr. Vice President, being one of the most conflict and a small state, my delegation fully understands that countries emerging from conflict and in conflict situation are the most vulnerable. Henceforth, we convey the recommendation of the Special Rapporteur and you urge additional and predictable financing to help this country in dealing with their own specific needs and challenge to guarantee no one is left behind. I thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I give the floor to Timor-Leste on Zoom.
Thank you, Madam President. Timor-Leste thanks the panelists for their comprehensive presentation. Timor-Leste aligned itself with the statement delivered by NAM and the EU. In the last few years, we observed the successive weather and climate-related hazards, and it is forecasted that extreme weather and climate conditions would continue. I would like to praise the United Nations Secretary General word, quote, "Climate change is the battle of our life and we are not winning," end of quote. On 4 April this year, Timor-Leste was hit by the tropical cyclone Serosa, that's the worst flood in 48 years of the country's history. The destruction shocked the country and devastated our citizens, who are already suffering from the COVID-19 pandemic. From the disaster, we learned that as a small and developing state, the associated with natural hazard threaten to reserve progress made towards the sustainable development goals, especially via the small island and low-lying country at the global, regional, and national level. Vulnerable groups are among the most affected, including the elderly. Thus, Timor-Leste has implemented several policies for the elderly as part of a rapid instruction of social security assistance. Although my country has a very young population, it is our commitment to ensure the elderly can live in the best possible condition, which also reflect the great respect and cultural importance in Timor-Leste. To conclude, I would like to reaffirm my government's long-standing advocacy for the need to create resilience to this climate adversity and to continue to striving for sustainable development as a pathway to promote and protect the right of all, in particular, older persons. I thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. And I give the floor to Mozambique for a video statement.
Thank you. We shall now return to the list of speakers. And I'll give the floor to the representative of Timor-Leste via Zoom.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Timor-Leste welcomes the Special Rapporteur, Mr. Clement Bowley, to this session and thanks him for the report on the access to justice as an integral element of the protection of right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. Access to justice is a fundamental right in the rule of law. Timor-Leste Constitution guarantees the access to justice to all for the defense of their legal protected rights and interests, and further reiterated that justice shall not be denied on the ground of insufficient economic means. In addition, my country also guarantees to everyone the freedom to assemble peacefully and unarmed, without a need for prior authorization, and the right to exercise freedom of association, provided that the association is not intended to promote violence and is in accordance with the law. Pertinent to the Special Rapporteur recommendation and aware of the important role of lawyer and legal practitioner in the defense of people's rights and freedom, as well as the importance of accountability. Timor-Leste approved a justice sector strategic plan for 2011-2030, where it is expressed its commitment to inter-ally, providing justice officials with relevant training to ensure they fully accomplish their function and disseminating the role of private lawyer to the population. I thank you, Madam Vice President.
You've exhausted your time. I now give the floor to the representative of the United Kingdom of Great Britain.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Timor-Leste thanks Ms. Irene Khan, Special Rapporteur, for her comprehensive report on disinformation and freedom of opinion and expression. Timor-Leste shares the Special Rapporteur concern on the challenges and danger that disinformation can cause to individuals and society. Although not new phenomenon, disinformation and misuse of information have been amplified in recent years with the boom of the digital age and the never-ending of creation of new digital platforms and resources. These platforms are essential to bring population closer, to make education accessible to all, and to share information that can save life. However, the misuse of this platform by sharing false facts and a story can threaten human rights, democratic institutions, and development processes. COVID-19 pandemic is and continue to be an unfortunate reminder of the danger caused by disinformation. which lead to a question of how many lives could have been saved if proper information on measures to contain the virus were disseminated to certain population. Mr. Vice President, states have to step up their effort to ensure a multidimensional response to this information and strengthen public trust in the integrity of the information order. In Timor-Leste, every person has the right to freedom and of speech and the right to inform and be informed impartially. Moreover, freedom of the press and other mass media is guaranteed, and my country bears the responsibility to guarantee the freedom and independence of the public mass media from political and economic power. I thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Yes, thank you. The next speaker.